I don't regret it, but damn, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. Yo, Rhino here. If you've ever wondered what $14,000 in books looks like, then stick around. Welcome to my addiction as a behavioral junkie. So I got this comment a few weeks ago that said, dude, your drugs are books. You definitely show signs of addiction here. Keep using. Knowledge acquiring is your biggest motivation. I keep on getting inspired by you and buying and reading books about behavior analysis. Great video. I said, I love this, thanks. No treatment, no cure for the behavioral junkie, which if you don't know what that is, I'll bring it back up at the end of this. But I occasionally get people asking about like what's on your bookshelf. I send pictures. So I figured I'd just run through a quick, like what's on my shelves, admit to the fact that this is definitely a behavioral junkie issue of $14,000 worth of books. But I don't regret it whatsoever. So let's kind of walk through. I've got another camera to help this out a little bit. So down here in the corner, I'm not going to share them all, but I have the Journal of Applied Behavior Analysis. This is the mothership of behavior analysis. All the scientific studies. You can see it starts right here. Starts here with the first volume, and it continues along all the way until the most recent. Some people ask how I came across these. Through networking. I met a gentleman named Bob Worsham at a conference, kept in touch with him over years and years and years. When he visited Reno, or if I was at a conference where he was at, we'd get together, hang out, chat. We even ran and kind of jogged, because he was an avid jogger when I was starting to learn how to do that sort of stuff, and getting into it. And it turned out, years down the road, he was like, I'm looking to give my collection to somebody that'll use it, that'll even spread it around. And I don't even think I had to cover shipping. I think he covered shipping. And I'm forever grateful. Do I need the paperback copies when there's electronic? No. But is it nice? It's amazing, and it's very nostalgic. Anyone who loves a good smell of a book understands that, right? These ones date back to over 50 years. Now, I've got a few different things slightly organized. They used to be perfectly organized after moving a couple times. That just didn't happen. And so up on the top here, a number of different books by Skinner and Cantor. This is either interbehaviorism or radical behaviorism. And the reason is these are kind of like the core works that kind of started out the field. Most people don't know Cantor. I made a video that I can link. Cantor was actually writing about behaviorism around the same time, even before Skinner was doing a lot of his work. Two different thoughts, philosophies, and kind of works that really shaped me as a behavior analyst in the way that I like to think. Now below that, there's a lot of the contextual behavioral science work. So this is the work of functional contextualism, that fancy word for the stuff that RFT, relational frame theory, and ACT, acceptance and commitment therapy, come from. So these are a number of different books. You'll note here, a lot of these say ACT and practice and things like that. But there's a number here like this evidence-based psychotherapy book that is of that kind of third wave thinking of contextual behavioral science, but it's different. So I kind of group them and try to read. That's something Steve actually mentioned to me one day. Steve Hayes was saying, make sure that you read other things that are out there. They're going to be just as valuable. They might be talking in a different way, using a different language, but they're asking great questions typically. So just look at them through a behavioral lens. Now I have 4 or 5 shelves that are completely dedicated to a bunch of old books. And these are things that I either acquired through people like Bob Worsham that I mentioned that was handing things off, or there was a chapter that I was told about and it was like, you need to check these sort of things out. They're going to be very valuable. I find most of these through just referral. Someone says there's a really good chapter on this if you're interested in it, or this is a really good book. And if I especially hear it repeated over and over and over again, then that's something I'll consider snagging. But as you can see here, there is a slew of different topics. Non-aversive and aversive interventions, contemporary psychology, clinical psychology, basic psychology, all sorts of different topics. And these go on and continue over here. Buried down here are a lot of different manuals, mostly outdated. Not all the time, but think about things that were manuals on best practices in the 60s, 70s, 80s that we've now since advanced, but I just wanted to know about them for the historical context. There's a number of things on instructional design and reading and the great work that came from direct instruction and precision teaching that are down here. Some of these, the New Maker 6-pack, and some of these here you've seen in different art things that I've posted about instructional design. This is a sort of collection that I gathered when I was in a part of a learning center where we were teaching children different basic elementary, middle school, and high school level skill sets. We continue here to a number of different books. Histories of Psychology, Behavioral Science, Tales of Inspirations. It's one of my favorite books just because of all the cool stories of behavior analysts that are out there doing amazing things. I hope to cover a lot of these someday in like full out proper reviews. They take a while, especially for ones I haven't read in a while. I got to reread them. If you move up here, I get into a little bit more of like what I consider more textbook sort of work. These were in a recent video kind of covering textbooks. This one is kind of like a how-to on direct instruction and theory of instruction, very much falls under that. And they kind of continue into other things I considered kind of textbook-like. Anything that's covering a lot of different topics, usually edited books and such. If we continue, there's two more shelves. These are kind of a conglomerate of other random books and things that I've found when it comes to organizational behavior management, leadership, and things of that nature. And so, but that ends on a section on methods, being able to understand with our research designs what's going on. So there's a number of them there. So this last one has to do with Context Press. I've made an entire video on just books that I like from Context Press. A lot of that was the early works of RFT and ACT. And then it moves into just some of my favorites when it comes to philosophy, understanding methods, research, science, and even a couple there on evolution and Einstein himself. Just to not forget that, you know, we're operating in a much larger world than just behavior. Occasionally throughout the years, I get questions of, you know, are you the product of some rich family, anything like that? None of that is true whatsoever. This initially started as a result of just taking out more student loans than I necessarily needed at the time to be able to pay my tuition. You know how you're kind of gauging that, you're never really sure. Any extra that I had, I wouldn't use to live off of because I had a decent job at the time where I could at least make enough to pay my bills. So I dumped them into my addiction, books. Absolutely every single one of these was purchased through that sort of model of what am I trying to learn? What am I interested in? What do I need to do to kind of fill a skill set gap? By no means have I read them all. I read at least chapters out of everything that I've bought. And I don't read to master top to bottom. I'm not completely fluent in each one. Oftentimes it's I want to know enough to be able to reference it and go back to it. Now I also have things that I'm kind of currently reading. Those are usually scattered throughout the house. You'll see here a number of different books, things that I've been kind of reading or working on for whatever reason. I've actually been getting a lot more into books about storytelling, about areas that are adjacent to behavior analysis, things that are in philosophy or business or culture, social media, capitalism, just things that help you, I don't know, think about the context in which behavior operates. And so I'm not sure how useful this is. I'll make sure to include proper pictures down below of everything that I've showed so you can go through and not necessarily have to like freeze on the frames if you don't want to. But that's my behavioral addiction. And that comment in replying with the behavioral junkie is because of a poem that was written in behavior analysis that was published actually in JABA. And so I'll link that down below. I like to think that my life has been professionally kind of slowly learning that I liked this behavioral junkie aspect and trying to find other behavioral junkies that are out there in the world. And that's stuff I kind of create and share. The connotation, not the best, but I think it's somewhat accurate of people that, I don't know, spend over $14,000 in books just for the sake of learning and understanding the world a little bit better. I don't regret it, but damn, that's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. All right, hope this is useful. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, share, subscribe if you're into this sort of stuff. I make stuff about behavior analysis. Appreciate everybody that supports me. Hope this was interesting. Check out that article. It's a quick 1-page read. Behavioral Junkie is a very good article, and I'll see you all in the next one. That's your Daily BA.